Yo legends! Welcome to Fanfiction Legend. Grab your headphones, because today's story is about to hit different. Disclaimer. I do not claim ownership of this story. All rights belong to the original creators. It refuse Redhead's invitation. Page 61. Okay, that's amazing. The tavern owner was stunned. Laylee's originally relaxed expression froze for a while when Lin Mo used the magic evasion trick. This is... Raleigh said in surprise, could it be that this is God's avoidance? Lin Mo silently hung Lake Toya back around his waist, held the wine bottle, and drank. Laylee's eyes on Lin Mo changed. He can be sure that what Lin Mo used just now was divine avoidance. This is Roger's sword skill. Even if they know the principle of this trick, most people can't learn it at all. Even if there is talent, it will take a long time to practice. How did Lin Mo do it? Originally, Laylee didn't quite believe what Hungfa said, that Lin Mo would be a person who could stir up the world in the future. Now he believes. Even that man's sword skills can be learned and used easily. Definitely not Fanpin. Aren't you going to avoid it? Lin Mo said blankly after taking a sip of his wine. When he came back to his senses, Raleigh felt that there were quite a few Marines in the alley outside, and they were coming because of the movement here. This little devil's knowledgeable color is also very good. Laylee couldn't help but look at him more, his eyes full of appreciation. Laylee immediately smiled, got up, and looked at the tavern owner. Boss, I will borrow your warehouse to hide for a while. The tavern owner was unclear, so he nodded. Raleigh walked directly towards the warehouse inside the tavern that was dedicated to storing alcohol. Not long after he entered the warehouse, Smoker came with several Marines. Looking at the corpses all over the floor, Smoker couldn't help but frowned, and looked at Lin Mo who was at the bar, drinking like a normal person. It's this brat again. Could it be that he killed these people? Smog looked back at the Navy and said, drag these guys out. Yes. All the navies got the order and immediately stepped forward and started to work. Smoker, on the other hand, sat down next to Lin Mo. His gaze could not help falling on Lin Mo's other side, an empty wine bottle. Smoker narrowed his eyes slightly and asked, you also drank that bottle of wine? Lin Mo casually glanced at the empty wine bottle that Laylee had finished drinking, and continued to drink, not bothering to respond to him. Seeing that Lin Mo ignored him, Smoker said to the tavern owner, give me a glass of rum. The tavern owner snorted coldly, there is no wine for you here. Smoker didn't care about the indifferent attitude of the tavern owner at all. He rolled a bottle of wine from the wine cabinet with a cigarette, uncorked it, and took a long gulp. Little devil, did you kill those people on the ground? Smoker asked expressionlessly. Lin Mo said calmly, no. At this time, a navy suddenly shouted, Master Smoker, there is still one alive. Smoker looked at the man carried by the navy, and when he saw the man's face clearly, he couldn't help being slightly surprised. This is the Ghost Aiken, the captain of the Creek Pirates? I remember Creek a few days ago. The sky is dead, and the Ghost Aiken is looking for the guy who killed Creek everywhere in order to avenge Creek, but why did he appear here? Could it be that you were the guy who killed Creek? Smoker looked at Lin Mo again, his eyes full of surprise. Lin Mo continued to drink indifferently, as if it had nothing to do with him at all. Chapter 41 Rogue Town so-called small gambling pleasure Diddy, appreciated by Pluto Rayleigh, the sign in progress is plus 20%, the current total progress is 50%, and the reward level of knowledge and knowledge is plus 1, and the current knowledge and knowledge level is LV4. The sudden beep from the system almost choked Lin Mo who was drinking. In an instant, the improvement of knowledge and knowledge immediately made him feel the heartbeat of nearly half of the people in Rogue Town. Lin Mo's headache was splitting from the noise. Fortunately, the sound only lasted for a few seconds before it stopped. Lin Mo rubbed his temples silently. This Raleigh is interesting. If a person is not in the lobby of this tavern, he can also contribute to his sign-in-progress value. Smoker had been staring at Lin Mo, seeing that his expression just now was not quite right, so he asked strangely, what's wrong with you? Lin Mo said indifferently, it's okay. Really? Smoker couldn't believe it. Seeing that Lin Mo didn't respond, Smoker continued, could it be that you drank too much? Lin Mo glanced at him speechlessly. Drink too much? That is impossible. Don't look at him as a child now. Page 62. In fact, his drinking capacity has almost reached the point where he can't pour 1,000 glasses. Before crossing over to the world of pirates, he was a person who had no drink or joy. Drinking alcohol is like drinking water to him. But after drinking, Lin Mo always has a steelyard in his heart. As long as he is slightly drunk, he will not continue to drink. Hehe, what a scrupulous guy. Seeing that Lin Mo still ignored him, Smoker drank another big gulp of his wine. At this time, the sailors had already removed all the corpses in the tavern. Report Smoker to Mr. Xiao, what should we do with these corpses? One of the sailors asked respectfully. Smoker said casually, send it directly to the corpse disposal site. Xiao Smoker, what should I do if there is still one alive? Shut up first. Yes. After the sea soldier got the order, he immediately left the tavern. Now, only the tavern owner, Lin Mo, Smoker, and Rayleigh, who was hiding in the small warehouse, were left in the tavern. There will be a lot of pirates coming to Luoge Town recently. Smoke said while drinking. In addition to the execution platform where Roger was executed, this tavern named after Roger will also become the target of many pirates. I will visit your store frequently in the future, boss. Damn it, I think you want to demolish my shop. The tavern owner gritted his teeth. If you have nothing to do, go to the port and squat. Don't those pirates have to pass through the port to go ashore? Don't keep staring at me, shop. Some pirates are far more cunning than you think. Those who can be caught at the port are all small characters who can't make it to the stage. Smoker bit his cigar and said solemnly, I don't know why, it always feels like something big is going to happen. Roger's death date may change in a few days. Humph. Even if there is a change, so what? The tavern owner snorted coldly, I'm just a small owner who runs a tavern. Besides, my tavern has been booked out these days, and I won't accept any more people. Other guests, if you want to catch pirates, it doesn't matter whether you go to the port or to the streets and alleys, it doesn't matter, just don't come here to get in my way. Booking? Smoker asked, slightly surprised, who has booked it? Lin Mo? The tavern owner said bluntly, yes, that's him. He would never betray Raleigh. Smoker paused for a moment, and then said in relief, that's right, this kid just got a large bounty today, and he does have money to rent the venue. Drink the last sip from the bottle. Smoker put down a handful of Bailey, got up, and looked at Lin Mo one more time before leaving. Boy, will you stay here until after Roger's death? Lin Mo wrote lightly, not necessarily, it depends on the mood. Oh, it depends on your mood. Smoker didn't say anything more, turned and left the tavern. Not long after Smoker left, Rayleigh came out of the warehouse. Ha ha ha, it seems that this tavern has been targeted by that young Navy man. Raleigh said with a big laugh. The owner of the tavern said unhappily, Mr. Raleigh, I'm dying of a headache, and you are still laughing here. That guy named Smoker, since he was transferred to Luoge Town, has been running towards me every few days. This also caught a lot of pirates, and the store was almost smashed by them several times. Everything has advantages and disadvantages. In fact, that guy comes here often. When he causes you trouble, he can also solve a lot of trouble for you. Rayleigh took another bottle of wine, uncorked it, took a sip, and continued, after all, there are still a lot of unreasonable pirates in this world. That's right. The tavern owner sighed slightly, hey, if only all the pirates could be like Roger. Ha ha ha, it's useless to talk too much, come, let's have a drink together. Rayleigh laughed and invited the tavern owner to fight for a drink. The tavern keeper smiled sullenly. Then he walked towards the door, drink first, I'll close the door, so that no troublemaker will come in. Rayleigh gulped down his wine, and turned his gaze to Lin Mo, who seemed to have had enough. I just started, so you can't drink any more? Lin Mo said speechlessly, I've already drank a lot. Ha ha ha. Raleigh laughed loudly, sure enough, I'm just a child. By the way, do you want to hear about Roger? I have a lot of stories about Roger that no one else knows. Not interested in? Don't be so indifferent. Rayleigh grinned, it's been a long time since I've had such a good drink. I'm going to go out and have some fun later. Do you want to join me? No. Lin Mo directly refused. What Rayleigh said about having fun, he could guess with his toes. 9 times out of 10 it's gambling. Since the disbandment of the Roger Pirates, Rayleigh has become an old man who loves gambling since he settled in the Chambord Islands. In addition to changing jobs to work, his daily life is either drinking or gambling in the casino. He is obviously well informed, but he still loses everything. He loses frequently. He even lost all his money to buy wine. In order to make money, he would even send himself to traffickers and sell himself. Anyway, Lin Mo has no interest in gambling or anything like that. With this time, wouldn't it be nice to find a place to bask in the sun, take a nap or something? Seeing that Lin Mo really didn't seem interested at all, Rayleigh said helplessly, okay, then I'll go by myself. I feel lucky today, I should be able to win a lot of money, ha ha ha. Raleigh directly took a bottle of wine and walked steadily towards the door of the tavern. Just met the tavern owner, who came back. Mr. Raleigh, where are you going? Rayleigh smiled, and asked back, I remember that there is an underground casino nearby, and the casino should not be closed now, right? The tavern owner looked confused, it's not down, it's just that there have been fewer gamblers in recent years. That casino can't make ends meet, and it probably won't last long. Ha ha ha, as long as it's still on, I'll go and have a look. Mr. Raleigh, I remember that you didn't seem to gamble before, why are you obsessed with gambling now? Small gamble, I just gambled a little, let's go, don't wait for me for dinner tonight. Chapter 42. Raleigh left the tavern laughing. The tavern keeper scratched his head in embarrassment. Lin Mo smiled silently. Losing money for nothing, is this called a small gamble? Chapter 42. The lazy general who was forced to take action in Luoge Town Not long after Raleigh left the tavern, Lin Mo also went out. Look at the time is still early. Lin Mo searched for a relatively quiet small beach by the sea. Behind a rock on the shore, he took out the recliner stored in the system space, lay down on it comfortably, and prepared to sleep. Just a few minutes after Lin Mo had just fallen asleep, a slight sound of footsteps came from far and near, walking towards him. Ah! Such a good place, you actually took it first. A lazy voice came into Lin Mo's ears. Lin Mo frowned slightly. This sound. It's Aokiji. Lin Mo didn't bother to talk to him, he didn't open his eyes, turned his head and continued to sleep. King Z hooked the corners of his mouth, didn't say much, just stood next to Lin Mo, put on the blindfold, and just stood up straight to sleep. Time passed by minute. After the rock, the big one is taking a nap. A pirate ship is slowly approaching the seemingly deserted beach. Park the boat on the shore. Dozens of people in low-key casual clothes got off the boat silently. Walk cautiously towards the direction of the town. When they passed the rock, they saw two people behind the rock. Stunned. What's the matter with these two people? One of the young guys wearing a three-cornered hat asked nervously, Boss, these two people may have seen us, or should we kill them? The captain of this pirate ship, a bearded, apologetic man couldn't help but hammer the man's head, idiot. Aren't they sleeping? They shouldn't have seen us, shhh. Just don't wake them up. But boss, I think they are pretending to be asleep. Let me go over to make sure. That's right, let's Yaochia go over and take a look. If they are really pretending to be asleep, then the news of our landing will soon reach the navy, and maybe we will be arrested immediately. Boss, you can just watch here, I'll go over and have a look. Stupid, don't go there. The bearded man just wanted to stop him. The young man named Xiaochia was already holding a saber, and slowly moved towards Lin Mo and King Z step by step. Boss, I'm going. Xiaochia turned her head and whispered nervously to the bearded man. The bearded man covered his forehead with his hands in pain. And the other crew members were all excited. Come on, Xiaochia, let those two guys know how good you are. Don't be cowardly, just go for a man, don't let us down. Ha ha ha, Xiaochia is really good. Even if those two people don't die, they must be injured. Well. But, don't you think the man sleeping standing up looks familiar? Old Bulletin, your old eyes are dim, you look familiar to everyone. Lin Mo here. In fact, he and Aokiji had noticed these pirates long before they landed. Because they walked very lightly when they got off the shore, and they didn't deliberately disturb and wake him up, so he just turned a blind eye and didn't intend to care about these little people. But now, this group of guys said to keep their voices down, but in fact they kept chattering, and Lin Mo was already bored. Xiaochia came to Lin Mo and King Z, hesitated between the two, and then carefully extended his saber towards Lin Mo. Just when the tip of his saber was less than 5 centimeters away from Lin Mo's face, Lin Mo suddenly opened his eyes, his hands trembled in fright, and the sword in his hand fell down involuntarily. Ah, why don't you leave? King Z pulled the blindfold on his forehead and stared at Xiaochia lazily. Xiaochia was so frightened that his legs gave way, and he fell to the ground. As expected, these two people are pretending to be asleep. Boss, what should we do? Are we going to kill them? Xiaochia looked in the direction of the bearded man begging for mercy. The bearded man's face turned slightly pale, and he hurriedly said, You come back first. Xiaochia immediately crawled back to the side of the bearded man in front of King Z and Lin Mo. The bearded man said nervously, You two, it's best not to act rashly. I'm a pirate with younger brothers. You only have 2 of us. You are no match for so many of us. As long as you promise not to take us ashore, tell the navy about it, and we will spare you. Navy. Lin Mo sneered, and pointed to Aokiji next to him, he is. Hey? All the pirates were shocked. Aokiji scratched his head, and said lazily, I promised Smoker to help him catch pirates, but I agreed to help him catch Roger on the day of his death, so go away, I don't intend to catch you now. What? Is he really a marine? Oh my god, what a pity, why did I meet the navy as soon as I landed? It's over, he will definitely inform me. Ah. I remembered that he is indeed a navy. I saw his photo in the newspaper a while ago. He is the admiral of the navy headquarters, Aokiji. Page 64. What? Admiral? Old Bulletin, are you sure you're not joking? Really, what I said are all true facts, he is really Admiral Aokiji of the Navy headquarters. Ah, it's over, the Admiral can kill us with one finger, it's over, boss, what should we do? Facing all the pirates who have become a mess. A drop of cold sweat could not help but appear on King Z's forehead, and he said speechlessly, I have already said that I am not here to arrest you, but you should listen to me carefully. However, no one listened to Aokiji's words. All the pirates, including their captain, looked desperate. It doesn't matter, anyway, it's dead anyway, it's better to fight, no matter how slim the hope is, maybe there will be a miracle, brothers, go. That is, instead of waiting here to die in vain, it's better to take a gamble, go ahead, kill them. Come on, brothers. Looking at the people who had rushed towards him, King Z felt extremely depressed at the moment. King Z looked at Lin Mo beside him. Lin Mo had already got off the recliner with a blank expression, and packed his clothes, just like an outsider. King Z was speechless, really, I told you that I didn't come to arrest you. Don't you people listen to people's words? You just leave, you are really messing around. The pirates have rushed over. Aokiji didn't want to do anything at first, after easily dodging a few attacks by the pirates full of loopholes. No way, hit the freezing moment directly, and a gust of cold air swept towards the group of pirates. Then amidst howls, all the pirates froze into icemen. King Z scratched his head and sighed softly, it's really a group of disobedient guys, it's fine to just leave. Lin Mo smiled lightly, without saying a word, dragging the recliner, ready to go back. King Z looked at Lin Moywan's back, stroked his chin, thoughtfully, this kid is really calm. Before Aokiji had time to express his emotions, the phone bug in his pocket suddenly rang. Take out to answer. Garp's voice came out immediately, hey, King Z, have you gone to Luoge Town? Have you met a kid named Lin Mo? Lin Mo? King Z scratched his head and replied, I was still here just now. Chapter 43 Luoge Town when Aokiji meets Rayleigh Hey, have you heard? The underground casino on West Street that was about to close down was revived by an old man. What are you talking about? The casino is about to collapse, how could someone save it? What I said is true. The old man is very grand, and every time he makes a big shot, he only wins the first bet, and then keeps losing. It's like a casino cheating. Same. Yes, I've heard that too. That old man is very interesting. He keeps betting when he loses and doesn't give in. He doesn't know how to stop the loss in time. He seems to have lost more than 100 million Baileys. Haha, I think he's an old man. You are confused, more than 100 million Pele, enough for a family of 3 to live comfortably for several years. Lin Mo heard some people's gossip on the way back to the tavern. No need to ask, he knew that these people must be talking about Raleigh. He is not sure if it is true that he can bring back the dying casino by himself, but it is definitely something that Rayleigh can do if he loses all his money. Fortunately, that guy gave more than half of the money to the tavern owner before going to the casino, otherwise he would lose it all. Lin Mo continued to walk forward. When I was turning a corner in an alley, I happened to meet Rayleigh who was walking towards me with a happy face. Yo, Lin Mo. Rayleigh smiled and waved to Lin Mo. Lin Mo nodded expressionlessly, taking it as a response. Ha ha ha, I was unlucky today. When I watched others play the last hand, I also bet. Although I didn't have the money to bet, the result was really bigger than I thought. It's a pity. If I had money, I must have earned it back. As Rayleigh spoke, he couldn't help but look at Lin Mo slightly, you should still have a lot of money, lend me some. Lin Mo. Good guy, have you fallen to the point of borrowing money? You're Raleigh the Hades. Lin Mo said speechlessly, no borrowing. Hey? Really don't want to borrow it? Rayleigh said regretfully, if you lend it to me, I will definitely earn back the principal with interest. How about paying you back an extra % of the interest? No way. Lin Mo suddenly thought of something, and said with a chuckle, it's okay to borrow money from you, but the drink I owe you will be cancelled. Rayleigh looked at Lin Mo in a daze, and then laughed loudly, ha ha ha. I never thought that you would do such a thing in order to escape a drink. If that is the case, then I will not borrow it. Lin Mo. So, in the end, money and gambling are worse than drinking. Lin Mo didn't understand why this guy insisted on buying him a drink. Even if you give him 100 million Baileys and a bottle of wine to choose, he will also choose wine. Ha ha ha, let's not talk about this, let's go back to the tavern and continue drinking. Rayleigh laughed and patted Lin Mo on the back, originally intending to nudge him forward. As a result, when his hand was about to touch Lin Mo's back, Lin Mo took a quick step and let him take a shot. It seemed like a coincidence, but Rayleigh knew very well that Lin Mo did it on purpose. Withdrawing his hand, Rayleigh said thoughtfully, it seems that you really don't like others touching you. I don't like people quarreling with me, can you be quiet? Lin Mo replied speechlessly. Lei Li couldn't help laughing again. Ha ha ha, you are really an interesting kid. Lin Mo was too lazy to talk nonsense with him, so he walked forward faster. Rayleigh followed behind him. When arriving at the entrance of the tavern, Bartolomeo was squatting on the stone steps in front of the tavern. Page 65. Seeing Lin Mo coming, Bartolomeo immediately jumped up from the stone steps, and said with a smile, I asked the owner of this tavern, your name is Lin Mo, right? My name is Bartolomeo. Can we be friends? Lin Mo. Oh. You're very popular. Rayleigh smiled. Bartolomeo said excitedly, Lin Mo, you are really amazing, you look younger than me, I really want to make friends with you, just promise me, okay? Not good. Lin Mo rejected him decisively, walked past him directly, and walked into the tavern. Bartolomeo instantly petrified in place, his expression extremely painful, it's over, I'm hated. When Lei Li passed by him, he patted him on the shoulder and said with a smile, a true friend can stand the test. If you can't even accept this level, you should give up as soon as possible. That kid Lin Mo doesn't use it can be done in general way. After speaking, Lei Li followed Lin Mo into the tavern. Bartolomeo stared blankly at the young and old who entered the tavern, and swallowed secretly. The mood that was still very discouraged just now rose again. Bartolomeo clenched his fist and said, that's right. If I can't even stand this test, then I don't deserve to be Lin Mo's friend. Ahaha, I will definitely get your approval, Lin Mo. Lin Mo heard what Rayleigh said to Bartolomeo. Enter the tavern. The tavern owner saw that the two of them had come back, and immediately served them drinks. Lin Mo uncorked the bottle and took a sip, then said speechlessly, why are you talking nonsense to that guy? Lei Li laughed loudly and said, it's better to have one more friend than one more enemy, right? That little green-haired kid looks like a rascal with a bad temper, but he's actually a pretty simple kid. Maybe he can't help you now. Busy, maybe he can help you a lot in the future. Lin Mo. Hehe, no need. No one knows the future of Jigunta better than Lin Mo. He doesn't need this kind of guy who will blindly worship idols and exaggerate to the extreme in the future, let him worship Luffy. Stop talking nonsense that has nothing to do with you. Lin Mo continued to drink expressionlessly. Raleigh smiled and said nothing. The tavern owner wiped his glass and said with a smile, it's amazing, Lin Mo, if you dare to talk to Mr. Rayleigh like that, you are definitely the youngest one, even if you are not the first. It's okay, it's okay. Lei Li waved his hands indifferently, there's nothing wrong with what this kid said. It's true that I was meddling in my own business, ha ha ha. While Rayleigh was still laughing and drinking, a person with cool air appeared outside the tavern. Just listen to the sound of bang. The lock on the outside door of the tavern was smashed. A tall figure walked down the revolving stone staircase. The tavern owner hadn't had time to exclaim. Aokiji appeared outside the small wooden door in the tavern hall. Bending slightly and looking towards the door, when King Z saw who was drinking with Lin Mo, a look of surprise flashed across his face. Ah! Raleigh, the king of the underworld? He actually came to Rogue Town, is it for the anniversary of Roger's death? Aokiji gently pushed open the small wooden door and walked in. The tavern owner was terrified when Aokiji recognized Rayleigh. Lei Li, like a normal person, continued to drink and smiled, I've already retired, and you Navy are really chasing after me. Your bounty is still pending, even if you retire, you are still a pirate. King Z sat down on the other side of Lin Mo, looked at the tavern owner, and raised his hand, well, boss, please bring me a glass of snow liquor. Chapter 44 Rogue Town seeing is not necessarily believing Lin Mo and Lei Li were not surprised at the sudden arrival of the green pheasant. But the tavern owner, especially when he heard that Aokiji was a navy, his face had already turned extremely pale. Even Aokiji asked him for sherry wine, but he didn't respond. He was still thinking about what to do, he didn't want Rayleigh to be taken away. Seeing that the owner of the tavern did not move, King Z repeated, boss, can you hear me? I want a glass of sherry, thank you. Ah. The tavern owner woke up suddenly, his face immediately pulled down, and he said in a displeased tone, I don't have sherry for you to drink here, if you want to drink, go to another tavern in the town to drink. Oh, so there isn't. King Z scratched his head, looked at the rum Lin Mo was drinking, and continued, then give me a bottle of wine that this kid drinks. The tavern owner clenched his fists and said angrily, did you tell me? You don't have any wine to drink. This tavern has been reserved by Mr. Rayleigh and Mr. Lin Mo since noon. All the drinks here are I won't sell you a drop of theirs, if you understand, get out immediately. Why are you angry? King Z said helplessly, I just want to drink, since I'm booked here, there's nothing I can do. Boss, get him a bottle. Raleigh said indifferently. The tavern owner couldn't believe it, Mr. Raleigh, he wants to arrest your navy, why did you invite the navy to drink? Li waved his hands and said, it's okay, even if he really wants to catch me, it depends on whether he has the ability, ha ha ha. This. The tavern owner was in a dilemma. King Z continued, don't worry, I'm not here to catch Li, although I'm surprised to see him here. In fact, he was even more surprised that Lin Mo was actually with Li. The tavern owner shook his head helplessly, then took a bottle of wine from the wine cabinet and placed it in front of Aokiji. Aokiji uncorked the bottle and took a sip. Turning his gaze to Lin Mo, he said, I didn't expect you to know Rayleigh, the king of the underworld. Maybe Smoker's worries will come true. Smoker's worry is that Lin Mo refused to become a navy and finally joined the pirates. Lin Mo said speechlessly, don't worry, it won't come true. Humans are the most fickle species. Aokiji took another sip of wine and continued, even you can't make choices for your future self now. After all, no one can guarantee what will happen in the future. Lin Mo understands the truth. So what? Page 66. Not to mention that the system he is bound to is the traveler system, which has limited his choices. Even if there is no system, with his character, he will not join any party. Some things never change. Lin Mo smiled lightly, and replied, I know what I'm doing, whether it's the navy or the pirates, I'm not interested, I don't have it now, and I won't in the future, believe it or not, it's up to you, and I don't have to explain so much to you. Hee. Aokiji smiled and asked, you really don't want to consider joining the navy? Not consider. As soon as Lin Mo finished speaking, a system notification sounded in his mind. Drop, reject Admiral Aokiji's invitation, sign in progress plus 10%, the current total progress is 60%, reward the domineering level of the armed color plus 1, and the current armed color level is LV5. In an instant, Lin Mo felt that the strength in his body had increased a lot. The improvement of the armed color level will not be noticed by the people around, so Aokiji and Li don't know that he has become stronger again. Really interesting. Lin Mo couldn't help but chuckled. When I was in contact with Redhead and Karp before, the other party invited several times before triggering the completion of the progress task. This Aokiji was lucky, he seemed to ask casually, and actually directly triggered the completion of the sign-in progress. Sure enough, seeing is not necessarily believing. Oh, forget it. Aokiji is not like Karp who will stalk or even play tricks, since the other party is unwilling, then forget it. Silently took another sip of wine, King Z continued, I don't arrest you now, it doesn't mean I won't arrest you in the future. I promised Smoker that I would help Roger on the anniversary of his death. If you have any abnormal behavior, I will not hesitate to catch you. Li laughed and said, haha, I'm just here to pay tribute to Roger. After the tribute, I'll leave here. Don't worry, as long as it's not something that has to be done, I won't make any noise, ha ha ha. It's better to be like this. King Z finished his last sip of wine and prepared to leave. Why don't you drink a few more bottles before leaving? Li asked with a smile. Aokiji waved his hand and said, no, I still have to call Karp back. Lin Mo understood why King Z came to this tavern on purpose. Looks like Karp did it. Even if the old fox is not here, he still wants to make trouble for him. After Aokiji left the tavern, he called Karp back. Over the phone. Karp asked anxiously, how is it? Did that kid Lin Mo agree? King Z scratched the back of his head and smiled, he refused. Karp said helplessly, really, it is still the case, forget it, let him do whatever he wants. King Z continued, by the way, I saw Li when I went to the tavern to look for Lin Mo. Hey? Who are you talking about? Pluto Rayleigh. Why is that guy in Luoge Town? After a pause, Karp continued, no, why is that guy with Lin Mo? I don't know, they seem to be drinking buddies. Aokiji scratched his head and continued, Rayleigh said he would retire from being a pirate, and Lin Mo also made it clear that he would not join the navy or the pirate camp. In this case, there is nothing wrong with the two of them becoming drinking buddies. Karp, ah ha ha ha, it seems to be the case, ha ha ha, then it's fine, as long as that kid Lin Mo doesn't become a pirate. Hey! Luffy, you boy, stop for me, what? What do you want? Be a pirate? Bastard, you and Ace can only be in the navy, there is no other choice. After Aokiji finally heard the sound of Luffy being punched several times with an iron fist by Karp, the phone was hung up. Putting the phone bug back into his pocket, Aokiji yawned, and lazily walked towards the naval station base in Luoge Town. Inside the pub. After Aokiji leaves, the tavern owner breathed a sigh of relief. It seems that this navy named Aokiji is a very talkative person. He looks much better than Smog, and he actually knows Mr. Raleigh. He should be at least a lieutenant level navy, right? While drinking, Raleigh said casually, no, he's the Admiral of the Navy. The tavern owner was stunned for a moment, then exclaimed, "Hey? Admiral of the Navy headquarters? Just him?" Lei Li smiled and said, "That's right, but you shouldn't be surprised that Aokiji is a general." The tavern owner asked puzzledly, "Is there anything more shocking than the Admiral of the Navy headquarters coming to Rogue Town?" Lei Li looked at Lin Mo, who was still drinking silently, and said with a smile, "Shouldn't it be more surprising that one of the most lazy generals in the Navy headquarters can personally invite Lin Mo to join the Navy?" Chapter 45 Rogue Town Memorial Day is here. Really, this guy, will he die if he doesn't say a few words? Lin Mo glanced at him speechlessly. The tavern owner was stunned for a moment, and then he said in amazement, "Yes. Why didn't I think of it? Lin Mo, who the hell are you? Why did the Admiral of the Navy come to invite you in person?" Why, Lin Mo also wanted to know why. Even though he had refused countless times, he still came to invite one after another with a stern face. Are all of them so thick-skinned? Fortunately, Aokiji was lazy, and gave up after being rejected once. He would be bored to death if he met a few more guys like Cap. Lin Mo didn't answer the tavern owner's question, and continued to drink in silence. Lei Li couldn't help laughing and said, "Haha, your state of mind is indeed suitable for sword practice. Maybe you will become the youngest swordsman in the world." "Not interested," Lin Mo said speechlessly. Lei Li continued, "Fame is not something you say you don't want, you can just say you are not interested. When your strength reaches a certain level, everyone will give you the strongest label. At that time, even if you don't want to be a swordsman, it's up to you to." Page 67. Indeed. The so-called strongest is not something that can be counted by just talking about it. When your strength exceeds people's expectations and surpasses the so-called strongest person, everyone will naturally label you the strongest. This is not you. You can decide whether you want this label or not, but it is something that others directly attach to you after they recognize your strength. That's why Lin Mo was annoyed. He doesn't need the labels. I don't want to deal with people, let alone fight with people. He would rather be a little transparent, hide in the crowd and complete the sign-in task silently, see the world's scenery, drink all the world's fine wines, that's enough. But he always meets some very troublesome guys. Lin Mo drank the last sip of the wine in the bottle, wiped the wine stains from the corner of his mouth, and said, "Whatever, the label or something, it doesn't matter, as long as it doesn't hinder me, anything is fine." "You are really open-minded." Lei Li smiled, "Sure enough, you are different from everyone I meet. Many adults can't do this." "Lin Mo, are you really just a child?" Lin Mo glanced at him, smiled lightly and said, 10 years old, thank you." "Ha ha ha." Rayleigh laughed loudly, "What a 10-year-old, you are really interesting." The tavern keeper looked at the two in bewilderment. Lei Li looked at him and said, "Boss, bring over a few more bottles of wine, I'm going to get drunk with Lin Mo tonight, ha ha ha." "Hey, okay." The tavern owner nodded, and immediately took down the bottles of wine from the wine cabinet one by one, and piled them on the bar in front of Lin Mo and Lei Li. That night, Lin Mo and Lei Li drank so much that they almost vomited, and it was still unclear who had the better drinking capacity. Since Lin Mo came to One Piece World, he almost got drunk for the first time. Under the leadership of the tavern owner, Lin Mo came to the guest room arranged for him by the owner. Just getting ready to fall asleep. In my mind, the system's notification sounded again. Diddy, drinking wine with Pluto Rayleigh, sign in progress plus 10%, and the current total progress is 70%. After being stunned for a while, Lin Mo couldn't help laughing dryly. He really didn't expect that the progress task could be triggered by drinking with Rayleigh. Although there is no reward, it is still earned. Without thinking about it, Lin Mo closed his eyes and fell asleep. Days after, Lin Mo went to the town for a while when he had nothing to do, and then slept in the perfect place for a nap that he had found before. King Z also stared at that place, and the two often slept together, one lying on the deck chair and the other standing just like that. For Raleigh, during the day, he would occasionally catch a few bounty offenders and let the tavern owner take them to the naval garrison base in exchange for bounties, and then continue to gamble with the bounties. The casino is fully up and running. In the evening, Lin Mo happily drank with Lei Li in the tavern. As he said before, Smoker would go to Roger's tavern several times a day, and he really caught some famous pirates who came ashore secretly. As for Bartolomeo, he followed Lin Mo almost every day. I have to say that this guy's tracking skills are indeed better than Sauron's. Even so, no matter how far that guy hides, he still can't hide from Lin Mo's 5th level knowledge. Until the day of Roger's death. Early in the morning, Lei Li asked the tavern owner for 2 bottles of rum, and took Lin Mo out. Lin Mo didn't want to go and didn't need to go. But thinking that it might be able to trigger the sign-in task, he followed it out. The sky outside was gloomy, and it was still raining lightly. Lei Li held a black umbrella and walked side by side with Lin Mo. Soon the two came to an alley on the edge of the central square. Due to the weather, there was very little traffic on the square. Although not a single navy was seen. Both Lin Mo and Lei Li could feel that there were actually a large number of navies hiding in the surrounding buildings in ambush. Once a suspicious person approaches the execution platform where Roger is executed, he will be arrested. It seems that it is not easy to go to the execution platform. Looking at the execution platform only 200 meters away, Lei Li sighed, I didn't come when Roger was executed. Do you want to know why? Lin Mo remained silent. Actually he wasn't very interested. Lei Li glanced at him and said with a smile, I guess you don't want to know, hehe, if I was there at that time, even if he would blame me, I would definitely not be able to help but save that idiot. So. Lin Mo pointed to the 2 bottles of wine under Lei Li's arms and asked, what do you want to do with it? Raleigh still hasn't answered. Suddenly, a huge explosion sounded from the direction of the main street. In an instant, there were screams in the square. Originally, the flow of people was very small, but now it is good, and everyone in the square has run away. Oh, it's really unlucky. Lei Li said with a half smile, at first, I wanted to wait for more people to pass by. If I pass by now, I will directly become a living target for the navy, ha ha ha. Lin Mo glanced at him speechlessly. With your strength, are you still afraid of the most useless bullet in the pirate world? Lin Mo turned his gaze to the main street where the explosion occurred and was now surrounded by billowing thick smoke. When the thick smoke dissipated, there was no one on the main street except for a big hole in the ground that entered the central square. It was as if the bomb appeared out of thin air and was detonated. In a building. Page 68. Biting his cigar, Smoker watched the situation on the main street with a telescope, and found that after the thick smoke cleared, no one showed up, and his brows could not help but frown. At this time, a sea soldier came to report, there are 2 suspicious people at the southwest alley. Smoker immediately turned the binoculars to the direction that the Marine said. Sure enough, at the entrance of an alley, there were 2 people standing under a black umbrella, one big and one small. The tall man couldn't see clearly with the hood on, but Smoker could see the short man very clearly. Lin Mo? Smoker frowned slightly, what is he doing here? Also, the person next to him doesn't look like the owner of Roger's Tavern, who the hell? Chapter 46 Luoge Town remembers the best friend Rayleigh Early in the morning, Smoker arranged for hundreds of Marines to ambush in the buildings around the central square, waiting for the opportunity to wait for the pirates who came to pay homage to Roger. Although, in the eyes of many people, there is no need for those pirates who are not related by blood or even seen before to come here to commemorate Roger on the anniversary of his death. But Roger's death brought about the era of the great pirates. Especially the pirates who set off from the East China Sea, most of them look forward to and look up to Roger. Therefore, before they are about to challenge to enter the Great Route, many people will choose to come to Luoge Town to see with their own eyes the place where the former One Piece grew up. Smoker stared at Lin Mo's direction with binoculars, trying to see who was standing with Lin Mo. Due to the weather, and the other party was holding an umbrella and wearing a hood. No matter how Smoke looked, he couldn't see the man's face clearly. At this time, Aokiji, who was lying on the floor behind him, said lazily, it's Rayleigh. Smoker froze for a moment, looked back at Aokiji, frowned slightly and asked, what did you just say? Aokiji scratched his head and sat up cross-legged on the ground, and said with a blank expression, the one with him should be Rayleigh, the king of the underworld. What? Smoker was shocked, Rayleigh, the Hades? Are you telling the truth? Yet. Aokiji nodded in response. Smoker's face changed drastically, this is tricky. If the opponent is Rayleigh, the king of the underworld, even if you go with me, you may not be able to subdue him. Besides, there is Lin Mo helping him, asshole, Lin that guy Mo is really lying to me, and he said he can't be a pirate, but he and Rayleigh got together, damn it. Don't be too angry. Rayleigh said he would retire from being a pirate, and Lin Mo also said he would not join the pirates. They are just ordinary drinking buddies, and they won't make any big noises. Aokiji waved his hand, signaling Smoker not to be angry. Smoker stared at him speechlessly and asked, how do you know they're just drinking buddies? Did you meet them before today? Probably. Aokiji scratched his head and continued, I saw it at Roger's Tavern. That's what they said. It shouldn't be a big problem. It's not a big problem, I think it's a big problem. Smoker said angrily, Lin Mo can be drinking buddies with whoever he wants, but why do he have to be drinking buddies with Rayleigh? What is Rayleigh's identity? You don't know I know, do you believe them just based on their verbal words? You are the admiral of the Navy headquarters, how can you believe what the pirates say so easily? King Z said helplessly, Smoker, you think too much. I don't think they are lying to me. If they are really making trouble here, I won't stand by and watch. Well, sir, Smoker. A sailor who was observing the situation in the square by the window asked tremblingly, "What are we going to do now? Are we going to arrest those two people?" "Catch what?" "With you, can you catch Raleigh the Hades?" Smoker said angrily. The Navy was too frightened to speak by Smoker. Smoker shifted his gaze back to where Lin Mo and Laylee were, observing their every move. "We seem to be being targeted," Raleigh said with a relaxed face. Lin Mo responded casually, "Oh." Raleigh smiled and said, "What should I do? I seem to be a little nervous." Lin Mo. "Ha ha ha." Laylee laughed, "It seems that it is better to make a quick decision. I am going to the execution platform. Do you want to go with me?" Lin Mo, "No." Raleigh, "Okay, then you wait here for me." After speaking, Laylee handed the umbrella to Lin Mo. Holding the 2 bottles of rum, the glasses he was wearing reflected light slightly, and immediately rushed towards the execution platform. The speed was so fast that within 3 to 5 seconds, he appeared on the execution platform. Raleigh sat directly on the execution platform without being too dirty at all, uncorked the 2 bottles of rum he was holding, poured 1 bottle slowly on the execution platform, and drank the other bottle by himself. "Stand up." He wanted to say a lot, but when he reached his mouth, he couldn't utter a single word. All the words are contained in the wine. Until my own bottle was finished, and Roger's bottle was also finished. Putting the 2 empty wine bottles beside him, Laylee lowered his head in silence, with a slightly trembling smile on his lips. The rain fell on his body and wet his skirt. A gust of wind blew away the hood that Raleigh was wearing, and the shoulder-length silver-white curly hair was soaked by the rain and stuck to his face. Lin Mo stood at the entrance of the alley, holding an umbrella, and looked at Laylee, whose whole body was wet by rain, expressionlessly. Although the weather was gloomy, there was still a distance of more than 200 meters between the two. Even if the other party wears glasses, Lin Mo can still tell from his expression that this guy should be very sad. He didn't know if Laylee was crying or not. The rain hit Laylee's face just enough to cover up everything. Smoker has been paying attention to Raleigh's movements. Seeing him sitting still on the execution platform, he couldn't help but narrow his eyes slightly. The sailor next to him asked cautiously, "Sir Smog, don't worry about the man on the execution platform?" "Wait a minute," Smoker said, biting his cigar. King Z also came to the window, looked at the situation on the execution platform, and said, "Although it is very troublesome, and the success rate is very low, if you insist on catching Laylee, I can give it a try. Let's see the situation first." Smoke said while observing the situation in the square, "I want to catch Laylee, I know the difference in strength, besides, the explosion on the main street just now should have nothing to do with Laylee. Lin Mo, wait until the guy who made the explosion shows up." Just as Smoker had just finished speaking. Underneath the main street where a big hole was blasted, a group of people wearing similar armor suddenly appeared, and they couldn't see their appearance at all. Page 69. Everyone holds all kinds of strange weapons in their hands. In Lin Mo's memory, it seemed that he had never seen people in these costumes before. "Go!" I don't know who shouted. This group of heavily armed people immediately activated their weapons and began to attack the surrounding buildings wantonly. Smoker frowned slightly, and immediately ordered, "Catch all those messy guys." "Yes." After receiving the order, the sea soldiers immediately took up their weapons, ready to fight with this group of unknown guys. Aokiji and Smoker saw that those unknown guys in the square suddenly changed their attack direction. Without saying a word, they immediately jumped from the window of the building where they were. Just landed. The group of unknown guys fell to the ground almost instantly. "Smoker." "Aokiji." Smoker said in shock, "What the hell is going on?" Chapter 47 Rewards for Raleigh, King of the Underworld in Luoge Town before traveling When the group of unknown guys appeared, Lin Mo originally didn't intend to make a move. After all, Smoker and Aokiji are here, and outsiders will not be allowed to carry out large-scale damage to Luoge Town. But when the group of people launched an attack, a few guys actually stared at him. All kinds of weapons attacked him. Lin Mo dodged many times, and was really tired of dodging. He covered his arms with an armed backhand, and punched several overwhelmed guys flying away. Then, when the companions of these guys saw that they were being beaten away by a child, they all shifted their targets and rushed towards Lin Mo in a swarm. Originally, the bad weather affected his mood, so Lin Mo simply glared at them, and all the guys who rushed towards him couldn't bear the pressure of the domineering look, and fell down a lot on the spot. Laylee was on the execution platform, watching the battle not far away, and seeing Lin Mo being chased and beaten by those people, he had no intention of helping him at all. He doesn't know the details of Lin Mo's strength, but he knows that these people are not Lin Mo's opponents at all. The moment when Lin Mo showed his domineering look, there was a golden glow in Rayleigh's eyes. "Domineering?" Laylee hooked his lips and smiled. "It seems that you are more powerful than I thought, Lin Mo. Roger, this kid named Lin Mo may be able to change the era you changed well, if you are still alive, you will definitely look forward to it. As soon as Raleigh finished speaking, he felt Smoker and Aokiji come down from the building behind him. Without saying a word, he got up, jumped off the execution platform, and came in front of the two people with the two empty wine bottles. Smoker narrowed his eyes slightly. You did it. Lei Li pointed to Lin Mo, who was not far away, and said with a smile, he did it. Aokiji stroked his chin thoughtfully. Do you look like a king? What? Smoker couldn't believe it. You mean, Lin Mo used the Overlord's color to solve those guys? How is this possible? Overlord's color is not something that anyone can have, even if Lin Mo really has it. Overlord color, how old is he? How could he be able to use Overlord color so proficiently? I'm also very surprised. Riley smiled. However, he did. If Roger is still alive, he will definitely be very interested in him. Haha, the purpose of my coming here has been achieved. It's time to go. Goodbye everyone. After finishing speaking, Lei Li laughed and walked back. Smoker clenched his weapon with 10 hands, looked at Lei Li's back, and gritted his teeth. Damn it, I'm still too weak. He is very aware of the strength gap between himself and Rayleigh. Aokiji and Rayleigh are singled out, and the probability of Aokiji winning is less than 50.00%. And when he and Aokiji were singled out, there was not even a 1/3 chance of him winning. And so, even if the two teamed up, they would definitely lose if they fought against Lei Li. Besides, there is the uncertain factor of Lin Mo here. Smoker was really not sure which side Lin Mo was facing. Once Lin Mo helped Lei Li deal with them, the probability of him and Aokiji winning would be even lower. Hey, Smoker, you think too much. Although Smoker didn't say it clearly, Aokiji had already guessed what he was thinking. If Rayleigh wanted to make trouble, he would have done it long ago. Why wait until now? There is also that little ghost named Lin Mo. When I slept with him these days, I occasionally communicated with him a few times. I can see that he really has no intention of joining any camp. Where is the possibility? When he came back to his senses, Smoker's face changed suddenly, and he said in shock, What, you slept with him? King Z was speechless. What are you surprised about? It's just a nap together. Smoker coughed dryly. By this time, Smoker's men had run down from the various buildings where they were hiding. Hey? Have all these intruders been dealt with? Shang Xiao, what should we do with them? Smoker, lock them up first, and when they wake up, ask them where they came from. Yes. The sailors immediately ran towards the group of unconscious guys. King Z looked at the direction where Lin Mo and Lei Li left, and asked, So, did you just let them go? Smoker coughed dryly. Let them do whatever they want, and I will keep your business a secret for you. Hey? Aokiji looked confused. What are you talking about? Smoker said awkwardly, Nothing. I'm going to leave. On the way to the port, Raleigh said with a smile. Lin Mo gave a calm hum. He is quite depressed now. Page 70. I thought it would trigger the sign in progress task. The result is nothing. Seeing that Lin Mo was absent-minded, Lei Li continued, What about you? When are you planning to leave Luoge Town? Soon. Lin Mo said casually. Then do you want to see me off? Riley asked with a smile. Lin Majeng was about to refuse. Lei Li continued, Please give me a ride after drinking for so many days. You should be fine, right? Lin Mo. Lin Mo said speechlessly, Okay. Rayleigh laughed and walked on. Soon, the two arrived at the port. Although the rain has not stopped, there are still many people in raincoats who are busy at the port. Rayleigh looked at the several ships parked in the port, and asked with a smile, Guess which ship is mine? If you guess correctly, you will get a prize. Lin Mo glanced at him speechlessly. Ferry? Are you, really, the kind of person who sails alone? In Lin Mo's memory, Lei Li was a ruthless person who swam alone from the Chambord Islands through the windless belt and directly to the daughter country. Such a person doesn't need a boat at all. Seeing that Lin Mo didn't speak, Lei Li laughed and said, Why, can't you guess it? You can try to guess a random ship. Lin Mo was too lazy to talk nonsense with him, so he casually pointed to the small wooden boat docked on the shore. Lei Li laughed again, Ha ha ha, as expected of you, you guessed it right, yes, that ship is mine. Lin Mo? Lei Li continued, Since you guessed it right, I promise to do one thing for you. As long as it is within my power, no matter it is good or bad, I will help you. Lin Mo was speechless. How come the boat that I casually pointed to really became Rayleigh's? But even if it was true, he didn't need this reward from Raleigh. No need. Lin Mo refused, I don't need your reward. Don't rush to refuse. Lei Li smiled, who knows what will happen in the future, anyway, it's not that you owe others anything, this kind of favor is not for nothing, right? Ha ha ha, that's it, it's decided. If you encounter any troubles in the future, come to Chambord Islands to find me at any time. That's it, I'm leaving. After finishing speaking, Lei Li immediately jumped onto the small wooden boat, waved to Lin Mo who was standing on the shore, and then took the boat to the direction of the great route. Lin Mo stared at the shadow of the boat carrying Lei Li away, without thinking much, when he turned around and prepared to go back to the tavern. Suddenly there was an exclamation from behind, "Ah, my boat was driven away, bastard, who is so blind that he wants to steal even a small broken boat." Really? Lin Mo couldn't help but chuckled. At this time, in my mind, the system's notification sound suddenly sounded. Diddy, practice for Pluto Rally, sign in progress plus 10%, and the current total progress is 80%. He was stunned for a while, but before Lin Mo could be surprised, the system's notification sounded again. Diddy, appreciated by Little Smoker from the Navy, the sign in progress is plus 10%, the current total progress is 90%, the reward iron level is plus 1, and the current iron level is LV2. Chapter 48 The so-called experimental product in Luoge Town Roger Township Naval Station Base. Smoker asked his men to lock up the group of unknown guys who tried to destroy Luoge Town. After taking off the armor they were wearing, I was surprised to find that although the group of people were different in height, fat and thin, they all looked exactly the same. What's going on? Smoker asked in shock. Why do these guys all look alike? Aokiji stroked his chin and pondered, human cloning, it reminds me of an organization in Bahai. Bahai? Smoker looked at Aokiji in surprise, this is the East China Sea, what are people from Bahai doing here? Aokiji shook his head and said, I don't know, but these are all small soldiers who are manipulated by others. The black hands behind them must still be in Luoge Town. Damn it. Smoker frowned, how dare you come to Luoge Town to make trouble, hum. Even if I dig 3 feet into the ground, I will catch that guy who is playing tricks behind his back. Port. Lin Mo was walking back in a good mood. I didn't expect to send Lei Li off once, and it would trigger a progress task, and I would earn Lei Li's favor in vain. It seems that today's luck is good. Although it is strange why Smoker is appreciated. Depending on the situation, maybe the last 10% of the progress can be completed today. When Lin Mo walked through the triangular archway standing in the port and entered the main street, he met a tall man with a golden mask on the upper half of his face and long golden curly hair. He was holding an umbrella and had 4 hairs. Children whose colors are red, blue, green, and pink are walking towards the port. Isn't this Germa 66? How did they appear in Luoge Town? Lin Mo looked at them strangely. Germa 66 is a powerful military organization in Bahai, a scientific combat force, led by the Vinsmoke family, and a representative of the Germa 66 kingdom. And what Lin Mo saw now, the man walking in front of the 4 children was none other than Vinsmoke Gage, the leader of the Germa 66 Vinsmoke family, and the 4 children with different hair colors behind him, they were all children born after his blood factor modification. The girl with pink hair is Vinsmoke Rijo. A red-haired boy named Vinsmoke Eager. A blue-haired boy named Vinsmoke Niche. Page 71. A boy with green hair, Vinsmoke Yuji. These 4 children, in addition to being born through the transformation of blood factors, also have an identity, that is, Sanzi's brother and sister. That's right. Sanzi is also a child of the Vinsmoke family. But because of the failure of the transformation of the blood factor, he couldn't keep up with the training intensity of his brother and sister, and was often beaten up by his brother, so his father, Vinsmoke Gage, locked him up. Later, when Germa 66 went to the East China Sea to crusade against a certain country, Sanzi escaped from prison with the help of his sister Reiju, but was discovered by his father, who exiled him. That's why Sanzi met GP later, and after experiencing the experience of almost starving to death, he opened a sea restaurant with GP. However, Germa 66 should have come to Donghai a few years ago. Is it a coincidence or premeditated to appear in Luoge Town at this time? Lin Mo didn't think much about it. Gage passed him with his 4 children. It's really useless, those failed products. Yang Ji grinned. Yuji said, haha, I was actually caught by the Navy, so I can see the loyalty of those experimental products. This batch of experimental subjects is equipped with a detonating device connected to the heart. If it really blows up, the naval station will be destroyed. No, more than half of this town will be destroyed. Ha ha ha, this town, it's really unlucky for those people to become the place where our Germa experimented with the experimental subjects, ha ha ha. Nig said with a smile. Reiju smiled and walked beside her without saying a word. Jiaji chuckled and said, the program set by those experimental subjects is that once they are captured, they will detonate themselves. Even if a few Marines survive, and there is no evidence to prove that we did it, they will have nothing to do with us, ha ha ha. Geiji and the others walked forward arrogantly. Yiji suddenly noticed Lin Mo, and couldn't help snorting coldly, what are you looking at? Father, he seems to have heard what we said, do you want to get rid of him? Nig asked with a smile. Jiaji glanced at Lin Mo, and said with disdain, "How big a storm can a kid create? Leave him alone, let's go." Geiji took Reiju and the others and left Luoge Town directly. Lin Mo continued to walk forward without a word. Now he finally understands what happened to the sudden appearance of a group of guys with similar auras in the central square just now. Even if it was true, as Gage and the others said, those so-called experimental subjects woke up and found themselves captured, and then detonated themselves. With Aokiji and Smoker around, there shouldn't be much commotion. Lin Mo just finished thinking. Suddenly, there was a loud explosion from the direction of the naval station. But there was only one sound, and it stopped abruptly. If all the experimental subjects were detonated according to Jiaji and the others, most of Luoge Town would be destroyed. Then, the place where the explosion should have been a sea of flames now. From Lin Mo's side, nothing happened. It can be seen that the remaining explosions should have been controlled by Aokiji and Smoker. Naval Station. When the first clone woke up, he bit the detonator in his mouth and blew himself up. When all the clones detonated at the same time, Aokiji immediately launched the freezing moment, freezing the entire naval station and forming a huge ice protection layer, which controlled the subsequent serial explosions inside the station. Damn it! Smoker was in a panic, looking at the naval station destroyed by the explosion. He was so angry, he blew himself up. King Z unsealed everything around him that had been frozen by him, looked at the wreckage and debris all over the floor, and regretfully said, "Now there is no evidence to prove the origin of these clones. Damn it!" Smoker looked at the surrounding marines with varying degrees of injuries, and immediately said, "Aokiji, save people first." Lin Mo can roughly guess the situation of the naval station. Anyway, it's fine, it has nothing to do with him. Without much thought, Lin Mo walked into the alley leading to the tavern with ease. As they turned a corner, Bartolomeo came. "Lin Mo, it's not good. Do you still remember the demon knife that controlled me to chop you? After you knocked it to the ground that day, I left it alone. In the end, he was picked up by someone else. Now I picked it up. The guy with the knife is cutting people everywhere with a knife." Bartolomeo said anxiously, "I tried to stop it, but it didn't work." "Oh." Lin Mo responded indifferently, and continued to walk forward. Dazed, Bartolomeo immediately chased after him, walked in front of Lin Mo, faced him, walked backwards, and said as he walked, "Many people have been hacked by that guy, now only you can stop it. He's gone, come with me." "This guy?" Lin Mo glanced at him speechlessly. Bartolomeo is a guy who is afraid of chaos. When did he become so warm-hearted? Chapter 49 Luoge Town parting should not be muddy. The third generation of Geisha was given to Lin Mo by Bartolomeo, the head of the, from selling a knife to show his courteousness. From the beginning to the end, Lin Mo never said that he wanted this knife. It is the wishful thinking of the head, and the consequences of throwing it away by itself in the end. Anyway, no matter what happens, Lin Mo shouldn't be paying for him. Therefore, no matter what Ji Gunta said, Lin Mo had no intention of helping him. Seeing that Lin Mo still ignored him, Ji Guan was in a hurry. "Don't ignore me, really, if you don't care, more people will be injured, maybe someone will die." "So what?" Lin Mo said blankly, "If you have anything to do, look for the navy, not me." "Hey?" Ji Gunta stopped in his tracks dully, watching Lin Mo pass by him blankly. At this time, a man who held a knife, his eyes were bloodshot, and apparently lost his mind suddenly rushed out of a small alley in front of Lin Mo. When the person who came saw Lin Mo and Ji Gunta, without saying a word, he raised his knife and slashed at Lin Mo who was closest to him. Page 72. It was a middle-aged man who picked up 3 generations of ghosts. Lin Mo dodged away speechlessly. The middle-aged man slashed at nothing, immediately changed direction, and continued to slash towards Lin Mo. Lin Mo didn't dodge anymore, and faced the attack directly. He directly grabbed the wrist of the incoming man holding the knife, and said goodbye forcefully. But it is different from the previous situation where the head was controlled. This time, the 3 generations of ghosts seemed to grow in this person's hand. No matter how hard he grasped this person's wrist, this person would not let go. Could it be that the longer one is controlled by this demon knife, the more unable to let go of this knife? He frowned slightly. Lin Mo wrapped the armed collar around his other hand, grabbed the sword blade of Sandekish, and used brute force without hesitation to forcibly snatch the knife from the man's hand. Losing the control of the demon sword, the man passed out as soon as he rolled his eyes. Lin Mo held the 3rd generation ghost in his hand, looked at it casually, and was about to throw it away, when the system notification sounded again in his mind. Did he obtain the demon sword 3 generations of ghosts, sign in progress plus 10%. Did he, the check-in task in Luoge Town is completed. Congratulations to the host for unlocking shaving and paper painting, and rewarding the proficient fire escape dragon fire art. Shaving is one of the 6 styles, which is a skill for high-speed movement by stepping on the ground dozens of times at high speed in an instant to generate explosive reaction force. Paper painting is a defensive technique in the 6 forms. It can release the strength of the whole body and control the body as easily as painting on paper. Now, the skills of the 6 styles are all unlocked. Although there is Shunpo's skill, Shaved's sense of presence has been weakened a lot. But when the 2 skills are superimposed, the power that can be erupted will be multiplied. He glanced at the 3 generations of ghosts in his hand. Lin Mo really didn't expect that the final progress would be on this demon knife. It seems that this knife will be with me for a while. Smiled. Lin Mo looked at Ji Guntu, who was still in a dull state, and asked, "Where is the scabbard of the 3rd generation geisha?" Ji Guntu suddenly came back to his senses, and hurriedly said, "It's nearby, I'll get it right away." After speaking, Ji Guntu hurriedly ran to the alley next to him. Lin Mo opened the property panel. Name, Lin Mo. Age, 10 years old. Check-in location, Drum Island, 0%. Physique, all attribute chakra. Domineering, armed color LV5, overlord color LV4, knowledge color LV4. Skills, fire escape dragon fire art, proficient, swordsmanship LV6, Shunpo LV3, Yekai LV2, swordsmanship divine avoidance, proficient, fairy ball LV1. LV1 LV2 LV1 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 LV1. Weapon, demon blade star breaker, Lake Toya. System space, 100x 100 cubic meters. Looking at the name of the next check-in location. The first thing Lin Mo thought of was the little reindeer Chopper who ate the fruit of everyone. Chopper is the ship's doctor on the future spaceship, a very cute, fluffy little guy who will be shy when praised. Based on the current time point, Chopper should be only about 5 years old, and he has not met Chiruluk who taught him medical skills. Lin Mo was thinking. Ji Guntu came back with the sword scabbard of the 3rd generation of ghosts. Lin Mo closed the properties panel. Taking the scabbard handed over by Ji Guntu, he put the 3 generations of Onato into the sheath, and then directly hung Onato and Lake Toya on his waist. Ji Guntu was stunned, and quickly asked, "Are you planning to use this demon sword yourself?" Lin Mo gave a casual hum, then turned around and continued walking towards the tavern. Paused in place, looking at Lin Mo's back, just like before, the more excited he looked, "Ah! I really misunderstood you? In order to prevent others from being controlled by this demon sword, you actually sacrificed your life to accept this knife by yourself. Lin Mo, you are indeed a guy who is cold on the outside and hot on the inside, you are indeed the one I like. Go back to the tavern." Seeing that Rayleigh didn't come back together, the tavern owner asked strangely, "Where's Mr. Rayleigh? Are you going to gamble again?" Lin Mo said lightly, "He's gone." "Ah?" The tavern owner's hand wiping the glass couldn't help but pause. Why did he leave without saying anything? "Hey, really, I thought he would leave after today is over." Lin Mo looked at him lightly, and said, "I'm leaving too." "Eh?" The tavern owner couldn't help but froze. Lin Mo continued, "Give me all the wine in the warehouse." "Ah?" The tavern owner exclaimed, "There are thousands of bottles of wine in the warehouse, did you take them all by yourself?" Lin Mo nodded. After hesitating for a while, the tavern owner nodded without thinking, "Okay, since you want it, take it, do you need my help?" Lin Mo shook his head. Tavern owner, "Then when are you going to leave?" "It depends." "Okay, before you go, let me treat you to a meal." Page 73. Lin Mo nodded. The tavern owner put down the cup in his hand and walked out from the bar. "Then you wait for me at the tavern, and I'll go out and buy some appetizers." Lin Mo nodded again. After watching the tavern owner go out, he walked into the warehouse where the drinks were stored behind the wine cabinet, and directly put all the drinks inside into the system space. After coming out, he also swept up all the wine on the wine cabinet, and then left the tavern directly. Lin Mo could understand Laylee's intention to leave without saying a word. Some partings should not be procrastinated. He also intends to do so. So, after taking away all the wine in the tavern, he bought a new small wooden boat at the port and sailed directly to the next destination. Barati's procurement ship was also destroyed by the previous explosion in the port. Head Bartolomeo has been following Lin Mo. Seeing Lin Mo sailing away, he was anxious, hurried to the port, and shouted at Lin Mo, "Lin Mo, are you leaving just like that? I still have a lot to say to you, don't go, just come back no?" Lin Mo didn't look back, but raised his hand and waved. "Is sad." One of his younger brothers ran over with a wooden box in his arms. "Boss, I found a good thing, it's a devil fruit." Roger's Tavern. When the tavern owner came back, Lin Mo had already left. Looking at the empty wine cabinet that was swept away, the tavern owner was stunned, and the bag of food in his hand slipped to the ground. "No way, that kid is gone too?" The tavern owner hurried to the warehouse behind the wine cabinet and opened the door. As expected, all the wine in the warehouse disappeared. Looking at the 100 million baileys left by Lin Mo in the warehouse, the tavern owner's mood at the moment was mixed. Chapter 50 The riotous town on Magnetic Drum Island The sea area of One Piece world is composed of the Great Sea Route and the 4 sea areas divided by the Red Earth continent. The Great Sea Route is a ring-shaped sea area vertically intersecting the Red Earth continent. It is the most magical and dangerous sea route in the world. And Lin Mo's next check-in location, Magnetic Drum Island, is on the Great Route. People from all over the world, if they want to enter the Great Route, they can only enter through the Windless Belt except through the Reversing Mountain. Inverted Mountain, also known as Levi's Mountain, has 5 waterways on the mountain, which are X-shaped, with 4 inflows and 1 outflow. Among them, the water flow of 4 waterways goes straight up to the top of the mountain. These 4 waterways are respectively connected to 4 different sea areas of the East China Sea, South China Sea, West Sea, and North Sea, and finally flows into the Great Sea Route through a turning waterway. Because the water flow of the inverted mountain is extremely fast, many ships will be crashed before they pass through the waterway. Fly off the top of the mountain, then crash and be destroyed. In short, it is quite dangerous to walk the waterway of Reversing Mountain. It is impossible for the boat that Lin Mo was on to pass through the Reverse Mountain safely. Then, he can only enter the Great Route by crossing the Windless Belt. The calm zone is a piece of sea area that is neither wind nor current, and is completely calm. Sailboats lose power and become trapped once they enter the quiescent zone, and the quiescent zone is also home to a large number of super-large sea kings. Therefore, when Lin Mo left Luoge Town, he specially purchased a small wooden boat without sails that could be rowed reliably with sculls. Follow the directions indicated by the system navigation. Lin Mo sailed in the East China Sea for 3 days before entering the windless zone. As soon as he entered, 2 large sea kings tried to attack him. In order not to waste time, Lin Mo stared at them directly, and with his domineering look, he instantly dissuaded all the sea kings who tried to attack him. After sailing in the calm zone for nearly 5 days, he entered the Great Route. It was still sunny at the beginning, and in the blink of an eye, a large cloud of dark clouds floated in the sky, lightning flashed and thundered instantly, and heavy rain fell. The weather on the Great Route is like this, and it cannot be judged by common sense at all. Moreover, the sea current is very chaotic. Obviously, it is sailing straight ahead, and you can always deviate from the channel without your noticing. Even with systematic navigation guidance, as long as Lin Mo is not paying attention, he will go off course. After sailing round and round on the Great Route for nearly a month, finally, when Lin Mo was about to run out of wine, he saw a winter island with several peaks like a magnetic drum. The closer you are, the lower the surrounding temperature will be. Lin Mo immediately took out the winter clothes he had prepared long ago from the system space and changed into them. The small wooden boat slowly approached Magnetic Drum Island with the current. At the same time, in Magnetic Drum Island, there are many large and small ships sailing out quickly. When passing by several of the ships, Lin Mo could clearly see that many people on board were weeping unwillingly. Most of them were wearing the white protective clothing specially designed for doctors. In Lin Mo's impression, at this point in time, Magnetic Drum Island should still be a well-known medical power. Later, because of the tyranny of the ruler Valpo, all the doctors on the island were hunted and exiled, leaving only 20 doctors for their own use. Then, the once great medical country slowly declined. Look at the current situation. It seems that he just happened to catch up with the extraordinary period when Walpo began to exile and hunt the island's doctors. Look, there's a baby there. How can there be a child sailing alone on the Great Route? Did he encounter shipwreck? Son, the Drum Kingdom is hopeless, don't go, get on our boat, and leave with us. On the deck of a large ship closest to Lin Mo, there were many people who had escaped from Magnetic Drum Island. Page 74. They all looked at Lin Mo worriedly. Lin Mo shook his head calmly and said, "No, thank you." After speaking, he controlled the small wooden boat and continued to drive forward. No matter how many voices of dissuasion came from behind him, Lin Mo turned a deaf ear to them and ignored them. Soon, his boat stopped on the shore of Magnetic Drum Island. When he jumped from the boat to the snow-covered shore of Magnetic Drum Island, in my mind, the system's notification sounded. Diddy, congratulations to the host for successfully arriving at the check-in location Drum Island. The check-in progress is plus 10%, the current total progress is 10%, and the entry-level Palm Immortal technique will be rewarded. In an instant, information about Palm Immortal technique appeared in Lin Mo's mind. This is a kind of medical ninjutsu in Naruto. Chakra, which can be reliably released regardless of internal or external injuries, achieves amazing recovery speed. This kind of ninjutsu can heal people even 1 meter away without getting close. All in all, it's a great skill. Wrapped tightly in the cotton coat, Lin Mo stopped thinking about it and continued walking forward. Along the way, many people came rushing head-on with heavy luggage on their backs. Lin Mo didn't even need to ask for directions. After walking for nearly half an hour in the direction of the crowds, he came to a small town full of one-story brick houses. At this moment, the situation of the residents in the small town is very bad, and everyone is in a panic. Lin Mo originally wanted to find a tavern and have a good drink first. In the end, after a lot of time, a tavern I found with great difficulty actually went out of business. Even the only 2 hotels in the town are closed and not open to the public. Standing on the messy town road, blowing the cool wind with snow. Even wrapped in a thick coat, I can't bear to stay outside for a long time. Not to mention Lin Mo who had never been to such a cold place. At this time, the Drum Kingdom guards, a group of people wearing uniform black cotton clothes and holding shotguns, rushed into the town quickly. Each of them held a stack of lists with the photos and names of all the doctors on Magnetic Drum Island in their hands, and they began to look for targets among the panicked crowd. Whenever they find a doctor, they will be arrested immediately, and if they don't cooperate, they will even be shot to death. This is the hunting doctor policy issued by Walpo, the current successor to the throne of the Drum Kingdom. Soon, there was a lot of gunshots in the town. One of the guards rushed towards Lin Mo after a target. The person being chased ran past Lin Mo with fear on his face. Seeing that Lin Mo was blocking the way, the guard said in a harsh tone, "Little brat, get out of the way." Lin Mo didn't move at all, and turned his head to look indifferently at the person who was getting closer to him. With no wine to drink and no warm hotel to stay in, Lin Mo is not in a good mood now. "Hey, I told you to get out of the way. Can't understand people's words?" The guards didn't slow down at all, and pushed towards Lin Mo unceremoniously. Lin Mo turned sideways and did not let him touch it. Just when the man ran past him in surprise, Lin Mo raised his hand and hit him hard on the back, knocking him face down to the ground. Chapter 51 That kid on Magnetic Drum Island is a monster. The guard who was knocked down by Lin Mo ate a big mouthful of ice scum. Seeing that he was knocked down by a child, his companions around him not only did not come to help, but even laughed at him. "Hey, Will, can you do it? You can't even beat a child, Bai has grown so big, ha ha ha. It's really useless, it's too embarrassing for our guards, don't say I know you when you go out in the future. Ha ha ha, I can kill 10 of that kind of brat with just one finger. You, an adult, can be beaten like this by a brat. It makes me laugh to death." Will, who was knocked to the ground by Lin Mo, clenched his fists angrily, got up from the snow with his face flushed, glared at Lin Mo with a calm expression, gritted his teeth, and said, "It's all you, bastard. You made me so ashamed, brat, you are finished. I want you to die." After speaking, Will immediately picked up the gun, pointed the gun at Lin Mo without hesitation, and shot immediately without saying a word. The bullet flew towards Lin Mo quickly. Lin Mo raised his hand and grabbed it, easily grasping the bullet in the palm of his hand, then using his armed force, crushed it, and threw it on the ground casually. Will, who was originally very fierce, faltered for a moment, and the expression on his face was immediately shrouded in disbelief and fear. Even the group who laughed at him before were all stunned. "That's not right, you're lying. That kid, did you just grab the bullet with your bare hands and crush it?" "Impossible. My eyesight must have been wrong, yes, it must be too cold, I have hallucinations." However, when everyone rubbed their eyes, they looked at Lin Mo again. The crushed bullet slag in the snow was so dazzling that they involuntarily took 2 steps back. Lin Mo walked towards Will silently. Will's legs went limp in fright, and he fell to the ground. Lin Mo, who looked thin in front of him, was like a demonic existence to him, making him unable to move and unable to escape. "Come to Will." Lin Mo stared at him expressionlessly, and asked, "How to get to the next town?" In Lin Mo's impression, there should be more than one town near the port on Magnetic Drum Island, there should be several towns. Will froze for a moment, and asked in a trembling tone, Are you talking about Cocoa Town?" Lin Mo let out a casual hum. Page 75. Will tremblingly pointed his finger in the direction of Cocoa Town. Lin Mo walked around him expressionlessly and walked in the direction he pointed. "Haven't gone very far." Several other guards who didn't see Lin Mo crushing the bullet rushed over. Seeing Will and the others staring blankly at the back of a child leaving, one of the guards said angrily, "Hey! What are you doing? Have you forgotten our mission here?" "No, it's not." Will pointed at Lin Mo, looked at the guard who was talking, and said with a very bad expression, "That kid is a monster." "Monster?" The guard was stunned for a moment, and then laughed loudly, "I think you are stupid, no matter how you look at it, that kid is just an ordinary kid, how can he look like a monster?" "It is true. That's right, he crushed the bullet with his bare hands." The guards around Will immediately pointed to the almost dregs of bullets that had been buried by the snow. A few guards who came later took a look, but they didn't realize that the inconspicuous debris in the snow was a bullet, and they all laughed. "Are you kidding me, the scraps are bullets? Even if you don't want to work, can't you find some plausible reasons?" "Ha ha ha ha. It's true, it's true, those pieces are bullets, really bullets. Will said tremblingly. Later, the guards who came were annoyed, so they picked up their guns and pointed them at the back of Lin Mo's head. It's really useless, I can be scared like this by a child, I want to see if this kid is as good as you, said Sharp. After finishing speaking, I only heard the sound of gunfire again. A bullet flew towards the back of Lin Mo's head at high speed. Just as he was about to hit Lin Mo tilted his head slightly. The bullet grazed his hair and pierced a pine tree in front of him. The shooter was stunned, thinking that it was Lin Mo's luck that he missed him, so he picked up the gun and fired 2 more shots. 2 bullets flew towards Lin Mo at the same time. Lin Mo shook his body casually, dodging the 2 bullets. It's impossible. The shooter said in disbelief, everyone shoots together, I don't believe that kid can escape our hail of bullets. Then, except for Will and the people who saw Lin Mo crushing the bullet before, they didn't move. All the other guards picked up their guns and started to shoot Lin Mo cracklingly. Countless bullets flew towards Lin Mo densely. Lin Mo stopped silently, turned around, and faced the rain of bullets rushing towards him. He immediately had a thought, mobilized his energy, and condensed a radiant golden ball cover to cover himself. Lin Mo hasn't used the skill of fairy ball since he got it, so he can take this opportunity to try it out. All the bullets that hit the fairy ball fell to the ground powerlessly, as if all the attack power had been sucked away. After the last bullet landed, Lin Mo released the fairy ball, and then looked indifferently at the group of guards not far away whose expressions suddenly changed, and their mouths were so shocked that they couldn't close their mouths. He directly acted like a king, telling these uninformed guys to shut up immediately land. Afterwards, Lin Mo turned around and continued walking towards Windmill Town. After he walked away, the townspeople who were hiding behind the houses emerged in shock and fear. Lin Mo walked in the snow for more than half an hour, and finally saw Windmill Town. It's just that Windmill Town is not much better than the town he came from. The townspeople here have been thoroughly searched by the kingdom's guards, and those who stay are cleaning up the mess. Everyone has an expression of resentment and despair on their faces. Lin Mo walked into the town expressionlessly. When passing by an ordinary house, a man rushed out of the house with a girl in his arms full of tears, and shouted sadly, "Doctor, is there any doctor still hiding? I beg you, help me. My children, please." However, what the man answered was lamentations. The man kneels in the snow holding his child in despair. "Is there a tavern in this town?" At this moment, Lin Mo came to the man, stared at him expressionlessly and asked. The man looked up at him with tears on his face. He wanted to scold him, but after thinking about it, he still sobbed and said, "There are no pubs here, only the towns near the port have them." The man did not accuse Lin Mo. Instead, the surrounding townspeople shouted out of anger. "What's the matter with this child? Didn't you see that he was sad?" He asked such a question. "That's right, where did the child come from so blind? It's really uneducated." Lin Mo ignored the surrounding voices, but pointed to 2 bottles of wine placed on a shelf in the man's house, and asked, "Can you give me the wine in your room?" The man clenched his teeth and said sadly, "What's the matter with you, kid? Hey, forget it, whatever you want, take it away if you want." Lin Mo nodded lightly. Amid the accusations from the surrounding townspeople, he walked into the man's house and took the 2 bottles of wine away. Then he came out of the room, came to the man, took out a hand, and placed it half a meter above the girl's forehead. A bright green light diffused from Lin Mo's palm, and slowly melted into the girl's body. The man looked at Lin Mo's strange behavior in shock, and just wanted to scold him and ask him what he was doing. The girl in his arms suddenly moved. The man immediately lowered his head to look, and the girl's red face due to the high fever gradually returned to its original color. Stunned, the man reached out to touch the girl's forehead, and then said in shock, "Ah! The fever is gone." Chapter 52 Drum Island Robber Boy Teleman After Lin Mo healed the girl with the palm immortal technique, he took the 2 bottles of wine from the man's room and left calmly. The man hugged his daughter excitedly, turned his head to look at Lin Mo who hadn't gone far, tears filled his eyes. Thank you so much, benefactor, what's your name?" Page 76. Lin Mo ignored him and continued walking. The faces of the surrounding townspeople were filled with unbelievable shock. What did he do just now? Why did the daughter of the old Sing family get better all of a sudden? It's amazing. His hand was glowing just now. Was it that light that cured Lao Xing's daughter? Who is that child? Does anyone know him? I don't know. Sigu Island is only a few towns away. Judging by the style of the cotton clothes he wears, it's not made on our island. Ah, it turns out that he took the wine as a reward for treating Lao Xing's daughter. We all misunderstood him just now. It's over, I said he was uneducated, will he bear a grudge against me? Lin Mo completely ignored the noisy voices behind him, uncorked the bottle directly, and poured the 2 bottles of wine he just got into the wine gourd as he walked. After the wine gourd was full, he gulped down the remaining half bottle of wine in one gulp. Although the taste of the wine is average, something is better than nothing. All of a sudden, Lin Mo's body warmed up. Not long after he walked, he found a hotel that was still open. Without thinking much, Lin Mo stepped in and booked a guest room for 7 days. Slept comfortably at the hotel. When he woke up, it was already dark outside. Feeling a little hungry, Lin Mo was about to go out to buy something to eat. Just out the door of the hotel, not far away, a man wearing a fluffy winter fur hat with leopard spots, 2 small gold earrings on his ears, obvious dark circles under his eyes, and a long black cotton coat, is a head taller than Lin Mo holding a stack of books. The boy hurriedly passing behind a row of houses caught his attention. Is that Terran? Terran is the nickname Luffy gave to a man named Trafalgar Law in the future. In Lin Mo's memory, Trafalgar Law experienced the tragic death of his relatives when he was young. Later, in order to avenge the world, he joined the Don Quixote family at the age of 10, and was later killed by his benefactor Doflamingo. The younger brother Corazon was rescued and influenced by him. At the age of 13, he left the Don Quixote family to avenge Corazon, who was killed by Doflamingo, and then founded the Heart Pirates, which became famous all over the world. Judging from the current point of time, Luo should be 13 or 14 years old now. Lin Mo can be sure that there are no Doflamingo people around here. And Corazon, who changed Luo, was not by his side. In other words, there is a high probability that Corazon is dead. As for the current Luo, he should have left the Don Quixote family and is preparing to find a partner to start the Heart Pirates. Sensing that someone was looking at him, Luo turned to look at Lin Mo. The eyes of the two met. Luo froze for a moment, but didn't have time to think about it. Behind, 2 big men have already chased over. Smelly brat, stop for me and put the book down. I've seen someone who steals money and food, but this is the first time I've seen someone who even steals books. Hey, brat, stop. Seeing the people behind him chasing him, Luo immediately spread his legs and ran away. Before he ran far, he was stopped by helpers from the town. Holding the book in his hand tightly, Luo backed away with an ugly expression. The townspeople surrounded him, and one of the 2 men who chased him immediately went to grab the book in Luo's hand. Let go. Luo said through gritted teeth. Smelly brat, is it reasonable for you to steal? The man who snatched the book grabbed the book Luo was holding with one hand, and picked it up by the collar of Luo's back with the other hand, trying to grab the book with all his strength. Pulling it out of Luo's hand, it turned out that the book seemed to grow in Luo's hand. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't pull it out. You. That's right, let go quickly, seeing that you are still a child, there is still time to turn around now. Little devil, don't be stubborn, it's your fault, return the book quickly. The surrounding townspeople persuaded one after another. Luo clenched his teeth, and said with an ugly face, anyway, your country is almost out of doctors, so why do you need these medical books? Sooner or later, these medical books will become contraband in your country. Before that day comes, you might as well give them to me now. After Luo finished speaking, the man who was still grabbing the book suddenly weakened. The originally noisy townspeople also quieted down, and the atmosphere of the scene was sluggish for a while. The man put Luo down, trembling slightly, with a hint of anger in his tone. What do you know? What can you understand as a child? Maybe these books will really become contraband in this country in the future, but not yet. Isn't it? No one's family members will not get sick. If we can't even protect these books, our country will really be hopeless. After the man finished speaking, he covered his eyes with his arms and sobbed. The surrounding townspeople also sighed. Luo tightly hugged the book in his hand, feeling very angry. Originally, his purpose of coming to Magnetic Drum Island was to improve his medical skills. After all, this island enjoys the title of medical superpower. But who would have thought that as soon as he landed on the island, he met the king of the island who ordered the hunting doctor to expel the doctor. With no one to ask for advice, Luo could only rely on these medical books to learn by himself. Although he is still a child, only 14 years old, but with his current strength, it is easy to knock down these townspeople. But when he saw the people in this country being abused by tyranny, and the people were in dire straits, it reminded him of what happened to him when he was a child. Luo can understand the pain of these people. That's why he didn't use force to solve the problem. But what's the use of leaving these medical books? Medical skills are not something that a layman can learn by just reading a few medical books and go out to save people. Luo grew up in a medical family. Under the influence of his parents, he knew a lot of superficial medical knowledge. If it weren't for the tragic incident of destroying the town when he was 10 years old, perhaps he would have become an excellent doctor now. Page 77. Can you understand these books? Luo asked blankly. The townspeople were silent. Luo continued, it is difficult for a layman to learn medical skills by himself. Even if you keep these books, it is a waste. I don't want to do anything to you. I will order these books. None of you can snatch them from me. Go back. Little ghost, do you know medical skills? The man who snatched the book before asked in surprise. Luo nodded expressionlessly. At this moment, a small figure walked past the crowd indifferently. Look, that's the kid who saved Lao Xing's daughter with thaumaturgy. I don't know who shouted. Everyone's eyes immediately shifted to Lin Mo, who was about to forage for food. Chapter 53 Magnetic Drum Island, Be My Mate. Yes, it's this kid who saved Lao Xing's daughter. Really? But how old he looks, are you mistaken? Absolutely, it was him. I was there at the time. This kid cured the little girl without even touching Lao Xing's daughter. Little ghost, how did you do it? Tell us about it. Everyone was talking. Seeing that everyone turned their attention, Lin Mo didn't want to talk to them at first, but after thinking about it, he asked, which restaurant is still open? Hey? A restaurant? Everyone should be packing up now. When I came here just now, I saw that Xingxing Ramen was still open. You can see it by walking straight in this direction. Is this child hungry? Do you have money? If you don't have money, you can go to my house for dinner. Yes, you can also come to my house for dinner. The townspeople were more enthusiastic than each other, as if they were not the same group of people as when they scolded Lin Mo before. Lin Mo ignored them and continued walking forward. When the townspeople diverted their attention, Luo Bian took another look at Lin Mo, and immediately recognized Lin Mo as the person who was staring at him just now. From what these townspeople said, it seems that this person also has medical skills, and it is a very strange thaumaturgy. Who is he? Luo asked, looking at Lin Mo's back. The surrounding townspeople shook their heads to express their ignorance. I don't know. Lao Xing asked his name, but he didn't say it. One of the townspeople answered Luo's question. Luo continued to ask, how did he save people? That's it. Another townsman imitated Lin Mo's previous appearance, stretched out his hand, palm down, and continued, at a distance of about half a meter above the girl's head, he did this movement, and then his hand a bright green light appeared, and the light slowly melted into the girl's body, and the girl's fever subsided. It was really amazing, I have never seen such a fever reduction. That's right, that's the first time I've seen him. That kid is so powerful. I really want to know how he did it. Me too. Hey, it's a pity that this kid is too aloof and doesn't care about others. Ah, I almost forgot to remind him that this country is expelling doctors. If the guards know that he has medical skills, they will be expelled immediately. Ah? Do you want to talk about it? He came from the port, so he must already know about it. I don't know, I think it's better for someone to remind me, just in case. That kid is too cold. If I don't go, which one of you wants to go? The townspeople began to push each other away. Holding a stack of medical skills, Luo stared at Lin Mo's faraway back. At this time, the man who came to snatch the books back suddenly said, these books are kept just to give us a little more hope. We also know that not everyone can learn medical skills. In fact, I also want these books. Make the most of it, kid. Do you really like and want to learn more advanced medical skills? Luo retracted his gaze, turned his head to look at the man, tightly held the hand holding the book, nodded and said, yes. The man hooked the corners of his mouth and said in relief, in this case, I will give you these books, but in exchange, you have to tell that kid for us not to expose your medical skills. I can see that, in fact, I'm also very interested in that kid, so let's go. Luo Zhen looked at the man in shock, nodded, and immediately chased in the direction of Lin Mo with the medical book in his arms. After walking for 5 minutes against the cold wind mixed with snowflakes, Lin Mo soon arrived at his destination, Xingxing Ramen Restaurant. Because it was meal time, there were already many people sitting in the ramen restaurant at this moment. After Lin Mo entered, he directly ordered a bowl of signature noodles. Seeing that there were wines for sale, he bought 2 more bottles by the way. Then he sat down at the only vacant table for 4 in the dining hall. Before the ramen came, Lin Mo took a sip of wine first. Luo chased him in, searched around, found where Lin Mo was, and went directly to sit opposite him. Luo said expressionlessly, people in the town, let me tell you, don't expose your medical skills, or you will be kicked out by the country's guard army. Lin Mo let out an "oh" casually. Luo stared at him silently. Lin Mo continued to drink indifferently. Until the ramen he ordered came. Lin Mo took out the chopsticks from the chopstick holder and began to eat. The aroma of the ramen spread to Luo, and Luo couldn't help swallowing, his stomach growled cooperatively. Damn it! Luo blushed slightly, and immediately picked up the hot water bottle on the table for guests to drink for free, got himself a cup of hot water, and drank it all in one go. Lin Mo looked up at him, and understood in his heart, it seems that this guy has no money. Moreover, although Luo is carrying a knife, it is not the long knife named Ghost Cry in Lin Mo's impression. From this, it can be estimated that Luo should not be able to use the fruit ability proficiently. That's right, Luo is a devil fruit capable user. It is a person with superpower operation fruit ability. The fruit of surgery ability users can create a global or hemispherical space, and ability users can cut, exchange, and splice anything at will in the space, and even exchange two minds. The life cut by the capable person with a knife will not die, and will not even bleed, and can still be alive, but it will cause slight pain. Page 78. Anything cut by the fruit of surgery ability can be spliced together, which is fundamentally different from ordinary direct cutting with a knife. The attack of the fruit of surgery belongs to the superpower, not a physical attack, and can attack the entity of the natural ability. If the fruit of the operation is used by someone with enough talent, it can even give humans eternal life. Once this operation is performed, the person with the ability will die. In short, the ability of the fruit of surgery can be said to be quite powerful. But there is another disadvantage when using the fruit's ability, that is, it will consume the user's own physical strength, and excessive use of the ability will even consume lifespan. Luo noticed the two swords hanging on Lin Mo's waist. When Lin Mo was almost finished eating a bowl of noodles, he hesitated for a while, and asked, "Are you a swordsman?" After finishing the last sip of soup, Lin Mo wiped his mouth and replied, "That's right." "Is it?" Luo was stunned, touched the sword he was carrying, and asked again, "Then you came to Magnetic Drum Island by yourself?" "Yet." Lin Mo stood up, ready to leave. Luo got up and chased after him, "I am also a person, and I can also use swords and medical skills. The two of us are quite alike in some ways." "Lin Mo." Luo continued, "What's your name?" Lin Mo ignored him. Luo didn't care about Lin Mo's indifference, and then said, "I founded a pirate group, and I am short of crew members. If you are alone, how about being a crew member on my ship? I will let you be the deputy captain." Chapter 54 Drum Island. Luo's determination In Lin Mo's memory, Luo should be a black-bellied, indifferent, calm, rebellious person. But what's going on now? This guy didn't even know his name, so he just sent out an invitation to board the ship? Lin Mo said speechlessly, "I refuse." Luo was stunned for a moment, and quickly said, "You think about it again, I am seriously inviting you." Lin Mo still has the same attitude, "I'm a traveler, and I'm not interested in pirates." "Traveler?" Luo couldn't help but frowned, "Even if you want to prevaricate me, can't you find a more convincing reason? What is a traveler?" Lin Mo glanced at him speechlessly, and said indifferently, "Prevarication? Is it necessary for you and me to prevaricate?" After finishing speaking, Lin Mo sneered and continued walking forward. At the same time, in my mind, the system's notification tone suddenly sounded. "Diddy, reject Death Surgeon Luo's invitation to board the ship, sign in progress plus 20%, current total progress is 30%, and reward proficient palm fairy art." In an instant, more advanced information about the palm immortal art entered Lin Mo's mind. After a daze, Lin Mo couldn't help but stop. At this time, Luo's stomach growled again. Lin Mo looked back at him. Luo turned his head away with a blushing face, and said arrogantly, "What do you look at? If you don't join, you don't join, and I don't have to ask you to join my pirate group." Lin Mo couldn't help chuckling, put his hand into his pocket, actually took out a money bag full of Bailey from the system space, and threw it directly to Luo. Luo caught it reflexively. Looking down, Luo frowned again, and said in an unhappy tone, "What are you doing? Are you looking down on me? I don't want any free money, are you sure you want to be a pirate?" Lin Mo sneered, turned around, and continued to walk outside the ramen shop. Lin Mo actually gave Luo the money for two purposes. First, it was a little interesting because Luo helped him complete the sign-in progress point 2, in case Luo kept pestering him like Zoro and Jiguntu, it happened that this guy was hungry, so it would be most appropriate to dump him at a ramen restaurant. By the time we left the ramen restaurant, it was already dark. It snows all year round on Sigu Island, and the outside is full of snow. Instead of being outside in the wind and snow at night, it is better to go back to the hotel and have a good rest. And so, Lin Mo didn't stay long in the town. When he passed a convenience store, he bought all the bottles of wine on the shelf in the convenience store and went back to the hotel. For the next 2 days, Lin Mo spent most of his time in the hotel except for going out to eat at mealtimes. Until the third day when I came to Magnetic Drum Island. Lin Mo, who had had enough rest, left the hotel early in the morning and walked towards the landmark of Magnetic Drum Island, the high mountains that looked like magnetic drums. It was windy and snowy all the way. Lin Mo walked forward step by step. He was going to find Chopper. According to the previous sign-in experience, the sign-in task of Magnetic Drum Island definitely has something to do with Chopper. Chopper is actually a little reindeer, he should be 5 years old at this time. Chopper with a small blue nose was originally a different kind among the deer herd and was often bullied. Later, he was expelled by the deer herd because he ate the human fruit by mistake. Little Chopper wanted to have a partner, so he used the ability of the fruit of everyone to transform into a human, trying to integrate into humans. But his appearance is not completely human, his nose is still blue and unchanged, human beings regard him as a snowman, as a monster, drive him away like a herd of deer, and some even shoot him with guns. Chopper didn't know what he did wrong, and he didn't know who to hate. He only wanted companions, but he was called a monster. He is no longer a reindeer, nor a human being, so he is alone every day until he meets Dr. Shiruluk. Hiruluk is a quack doctor who spent the rest of his life researching the miracle of cherry blossoms. He has never received a penny for treating people, even though the Drum Kingdom has no doctors in the town to treat the townspeople due to the decree of expulsion of doctors. And no one is willing to accept Ziluluk's treatment. Because all the special medicines of Ziruluk not only can't cure people's diseases, but will make people's diseases worse. At present, Chopper should not have met Shiruluk yet. Lin Mo was walking. Suddenly, a snow-white creature with a bear's body and a rabbit's head popped out from the nearby snow-covered woods, and it rushed towards him at an extremely fast speed. Labang is on Magnetic Drum Island. It is a ferocious carnivorous animal that likes to gather in groups. It is an animal that will never get close to people. Page 79. When this lone rabang was about to catch Lin Mo with its sharp claws. Lin Mo didn't respond yet. A black figure suddenly appeared, and with a burst of sword light and sword shadow, this labang was beaten to the ground less than 1 meter behind Lin Mo. Lin Mo, are you alright? Luo asked panting. Lin Mo paused and looked back at him. Looks like he didn't tell this guy his name. Seeing Lin Mo's doubts, Luo continued, it was the owner of the hotel where you stayed who told me. Because the name was registered before staying in the hotel owner knew Lin Mo's name. Really big mouth. Forget it, if you know it, you will know it. Lin Mo ignored Luo and continued walking forward. Seeing Lin Mo leaving, Luo immediately followed, and asked as he walked, the townspeople said that day that you can use thaumaturgy to heal people. Is it true? Lin Mo ignored him. Luo Bai continued, the purpose of my coming to Magnetic Drum Island is to learn more advanced medical skills. I am very interested in your thaumaturgy that can heal people. Can you teach me? No. Lin Mo opened his mouth and refused directly. Luo was stunned, and continued to follow Lin Mo unconvinced, I know you don't have to teach me medical skills, but I have reasons to learn more advanced medical skills. Luo touched his heart and said solemnly, I won't let important people die in front of me again. If I had strong enough medical skills at that time, maybe Khorasan wouldn't have died. As he said that, Luo couldn't help shaking. Every time he thought of the scene of Khorasan's death in front of his eyes, he couldn't control himself with sadness. Form single isolated. It seemed as if the wind could blow him down if it was stronger. Lin Mo did not respond to Luo's words. He had nothing to respond to either. Even if he really intends to teach Luo medical skills, it's useless. The palm fairy technique he knows requires the use of chakras ninjutsu, and there is no chakra in the human body of pirate world. Therefore, Luo will never learn palm fairy art. Lin Mo continued to walk forward. Luo silently stared at Lin Mo's back, thought for a while, and chased after him. Lin Mo, are you really unwilling to teach me medical skills? Lin Mo said speechlessly, yes. Luo frowned slightly, why? Just as Luo Gang finished asking why, there were suddenly a lot of cries from the surrounding woods. Several nimble figures shuttled back and forth between the woods, and with a few swishes, a group of ferocious rabang surrounded Lin Mo and Luo. Chapter 55 Drum Island Chopper targeted by prejudice Laban is a very protective pack animal. Obviously, this group of rabang came to avenge rabang who was defeated by Luo just now. Luo stared heavily at the group of rabangs who were ready to go, as if they were about to tear them apart in the next second. Lin Mo, I will protect you. Luo tightened the knife in his hand. If he was dealing with a few labangs, Luo was still confident that he could beat them. But if the opponent is a group of labang, it will be tricky. It's a good time to try out the ability I have acquired recently. Luo immediately freed up a hand, room. Immediately afterwards, a hemispherical transparent space suddenly appeared, framed all the surrounding labang, including Lin Mo, together. Luo immediately took the knife, moved his body quickly in the room space, and slashed at the surrounding labang. The rabangs immediately moved in unison. Even though Luo can almost teleport faster than labang in the room space, his power is not as strong as Laban. Slaughterhouse. Luo gritted his teeth tightly, and slashed at the nearest labang, easily removing one of its arms. The broken arm fell to the ground, but there was not a drop of blood. Even the cut marks on the chopped off Laban's body without its arms were extremely smooth, and not a single drop of blood flowed down. Slaughterhouse is an ability that can cut objects or creatures into several pieces and reassemble them within the range of Luo's control. The separated creatures will not die, suffer pain, or bleed. It can be said that this is a very powerful ability. But the premise is that Luo can hit the opponent. Laban, whose arm had been removed, immediately screamed and attacked Luo again after being surrounded for a short time. After seeing Luo Kite's ability, the other Rapans all became smarter. When Luo was about to cut off the other arm of Rabang, who had removed his arm before, several Rabangs suddenly appeared behind Luo. With a few slaps, Luo was sent flying. Damn it! After taking a mouthful of ice scum, Luo angrily got up from the snow, just as he was about to continue fighting. Several Labangs stared at Lin Mo, jumped up from all around, and rushed towards Lin Mo at the same time. Be careful! Luo yelled. Lin Mo stared speechlessly at the Rapans who were rushing towards him in mid-air, pulled out the 3 generations of ghosts, and with the help of Shunpo, his figure flickered, and in just an instant, the ravens who were trying to attack him all flew out backwards. Seeing their companions being killed, the rest of the Rabangs showed their sharp minions without saying a word, roaring and rushed towards Lin Mo at the same time. Lin Mo snorted coldly, and in front of Luo, when the group of Rabang approached, he stabbed again, and all Rabang stopped immediately. Lin Mo slowly put the 3-generation ghost into the sheath, and when it was fully sheathed, there was a bang sound, and all the standing Labang fell to the ground at the same time. Luo stared blankly at Lin Mo. Okay, that's amazing. Lin Mo walked past Mandalabang's body indifferently, and continued to walk forward. Swallowing secretly, Luo hurriedly released the room space, and caught up with Lin Mo again without saying a word. Page 80. For the next time, Luo followed Lin Mo all the time, but didn't bother him anymore. Although he wanted to ask Lin Mo where he was going. But he knew that even if he asked, the other party would definitely ignore him, so it would be more practical to just follow him and see where he was going and what he was going to do. Walking in the snow, still facing the wind of sleet, the speed would be affected, and Lin Mo didn't bother to care whether Luo followed him or not, as long as he didn't bother him. With the help of knowledge, Lin Mo discovered several directions where deer herds were moving. Several batches of reindeer were found, but no sign of Chopper was found. Seeing that the sky was about to darken, Lin Mo turned back and returned to Windmill Town. Luo followed him all day. Although he didn't know what Lin Mo was going to do, but through Lin Mo's activities all day, it can be inferred that Lin Mo must be looking for someone. No, it should be looking for a certain reindeer. Before returning to the hotel, Lin Mo randomly found a restaurant to have a meal, then went to a convenience store, bought a lot of food and drinks before returning to the hotel. When he got to the hotel room, he put all the food and drinks into the system space. Next 2 months, Lin Mo would get up early every day and go out to find Chopper, come back at night, and then save food. After 2 months of hard work, the system space has finally been filled. At the same time, one morning, when he was about to go out to look for Chopper, a few steps out of the hotel, a few men with shotguns hurried to the back of the town on the side street. Have you heard? That snowman has appeared again. Snowman? Is that the human-like blue-nosed monster? Yes. It's that monster. Ah, it's really disgusting. I heard that he went to the next town a while ago, and it seems that he was injured by the people in the next town. I guess he's healed up now, so he's here to take revenge. Ah? Even if the monster wants revenge, he will go to the next town to seek revenge from those who injured him. What are you doing in our town? On the street, the townspeople were talking about it. Lin Mo frowned slightly, and immediately turned around, heading towards the direction where the monster that the group of people said was located. He was sure that the monster the townspeople were talking about was the Chopper he had been looking for these past 2 months. Luo came out of the hotel as usual. He heard all the conversations of the townspeople, but he didn't have time to think about it. Seeing that Lin Mo was chasing the group of men with guns away, Luo immediately chased after them. Soon, Lin Mo and Luo rushed to the back of the town, in front of a pine forest. The townspeople with guns raised their guns and pointed their guns at the big guy who was hiding behind a pine tree at the moment. Damn, get out of here. Go away, big monster. Go away. The townspeople shouted angrily at Chopper who was hiding behind a pine tree. Chopper's current appearance is transformed into a half-human with the fluff above the chest and a blue nose through the ability of the human fruit. Even though they were hundreds of meters away, and the wind and snow blocked his view, Lin Mo could still see the countless scars on Chopper's body clearly. Is that the snowman that the townspeople are talking about? Luo's voice suddenly sounded. I have read the description of snowman in a book. The snowman should be a very vicious ape-like creature, but this guy looks a little they are not vicious, and even their appearance is different from what is described in the book. Did the townspeople misunderstand it? Lin Mo turned to look at him. At the same time, a shot rang out. One of the townspeople with a gun pointed the trigger directly at Chopper. Chopper took 2 steps back in fear. Lin Mo dodged, and appeared in front of Chopper in the blink of an eye. He raised his hand and grabbed it, crushing the flying bullets. Chapter 56 Drum Island. Sure enough, let nature take its course. The fact that Lin Mo crushed the bullet shocked everyone present. It took a long time for people to react. Hey? Isn't that the kid who saved Lao Xing's daughter? When did he come here? He actually crushed the bullet? How is this possible? Can normal people do such a thing? It's scary. Who the hell is that kid? Even if he has the strength to crush bullets, why did he save Xuanan? I'm afraid he's crazy. Lin Mo didn't bother to talk to this group of people, and looked back at Kyoba who was crumbling because of the injuries on his body. Although, it doesn't matter if he doesn't care about Chopper. According to the normal plot, Chopper will not die just because he is shot a few times by humans. It can be seen that Jobana's eyes are more sad and desperate than the pain on his body because his heart was broken by human beings. Lin Mo still couldn't hold back his compassion. Run away. Lin Mo said lightly. Although there is not much emotion in his tone, it is very meaningful to Chopper who has been bullied and hurt by deer and humans since he was a child. This human being is different from everyone else. This is what Chopper is thinking at the moment. Until the gunfire rang out again. Someone came around and tried to hit Chopper. Lin Mo raised his hand, grabbed the bullet flying towards Kyoba again, and crushed it. Chopper was frightened and reflexively took 2 steps back. Lin Mo looked back at him again, run. Chopper didn't speak, and immediately spread his legs and ran into the pine forest. At the same time, in Lin Mo's mind, the system's notification sounded. Diddy, help Chopper out of danger and gain Chopper's favor, sign in progress plus 20%, current total progress is 50%, reward fairy ball skill level plus 1, current fairy ball level is LV2. Alright legends, that's it for today. Like, subscribe, and I'll meet you in the next audiobook.